The best way to predict the future is to create it. Time is precious, time is money, and this is the time for Money Talk on Atlantic Television Network. Good day, viewers, and welcome to a fresh episode of Atn Business on Atlantic Television Network, right here in the city of Port Harcourt. This is the network's medium of bringing the happenings in the economic sector of society to our discerning viewers. This program is aimed at bringing to the doorstep of viewers the business, financial, and economic activities from all strata of society. Its deliveries are centrated through the various stock exchanges across the world, news about government economic activities, private sector business activities, laced with expert opinions, stakeholders analysis, and correspondence report. First, the headlines. In agricultural sector, Yobe partners Morocco in fertilizer production. Infrastructure, Lagos to provide 70 million gallons of water daily, Shamwulu. On petroleum resources, Abuja residents lament as NNPCL shuts stations over logistic issues. On the 2025 budget review, federal government eyes diversification, infrastructure, and security. On natural resources, foreign investors eye Nigeria's lithium reserves amid rising global demand. And on petroleum resources, Dangote begins fuel exports to Saudi Arabia. We are open for advert placements, bookings, and commercials. You can connect with us on all our ATN socials, on Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV, Atlantic Network.tv. We take a short break, and when we return, we head straight into our stories. Do stay tuned. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Delegation of Yobe government officials, led by Alhaji Baba Wali, the secretary to the state government SSG, is in Morocco to explore partnerships in fertilizer production and other critical sectors. This is contained in a statement by Alhaji Maman Mohammed, Governor Mai Mala Buni's Director General, Press and Media Affairs in Damaturu on Thursday. He said that the visit to the North African country was part of efforts by the state government to resuscitate its fertilizer blending plant in Guba local government area. Mohammed said that the delegation had so far visited OCP and Jof Lasfa fertilizer complex in Morocco and was conducted around the facility by its spokesperson Amini Jamal Ledain. The OCP and Jof Lasfa fertilizer complex is the biggest fertilizer company in the world with an all-year-round production capacity of 15 million tons of fertilizer annually. The complex has about 20,000 staff, with the company producing fertilizer supplying all parts of the world. Jamal Ledain said in his remarks, Wali expressed satisfaction with the commitment of the factory and its consultants to partner the state in resuscitating the fertilizer blending plant in Guba. Governor Buni administration has strong commitment to revive the factory to meet the fertilizer needs of farmers in the state, generate employment and exports to improve revenue of the state, the SSG said. The State Commissioner for Agriculture, Alhaji Mustafa Goniri, said that the resuscitation of the fertilizer blending plant in Guba would support the Buni-led administration's agricultural revolution. Last year, the state government launched a massive agricultural empowerment program with 100 tractors, solar pumps, and irrigation facilities. Other farm product inputs were also doled out like fertilizer, improved seeds, herbicides, and pesticides, among others, and distributed to farmers free. Again, last month, additional 40 tractors were procured by the state government to boost crop production, to enhance food security, and for exports to improve the revenue of the state, he said. Mohammed said that the consulting firm, the African Network Center, had expressed optimism that the partnership would be beneficial to Yobe and the Moroccan firm. The news agency of Nigeria, NAN, reports that Buni is expected to arrive Morocco on Thursday to sign more partnerships in education, direct investments in local government areas, among others. Other members of the delegation are Professor Bello Kabuwa, Commissioner of Higher Education Alhaji Ibrahim Jajere, Commissioner of Local Government and Chief Tenancy Affairs, and Alhaji Buka Adamu, Chairman, the Maturu Local Government Council. Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, on Wednesday stated that the second phase of the Adian Waterworks, once completed, would provide 70 million gallons of water daily to residents. Sanwo-Olu made this known during an inspection of the Adian Waterworks in Ogun, revealing that the product had reached 80% completion. I think the main achievement for us is what we have seen at Adian. Adian 2 is designed to produce 70 million gallons per day, and from today's inspection, we can see that it's about 80% completed. The electromagnetic and mechanical components, including the pumps, are on site and installation will begin soon. I've been informed that about 70 to 75% of the required equipment has arrived, particularly for the raw water intake, where pipes are being laid from Akute to the Ogun River. The contractor is working on all three components of the work project and has assured us that in another 10 to 12 months, this place will be completely transformed, he said. The governor commended both the contractor and the local community for their cooperation in ensuring the provision of portable drinking water for Lagos residents. Residents of the Federal Capital Territory have been left stranded and grappling with fuel shortages following the sudden closure of several retail outlets owned by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited within the capital city. It was gathered that the stations closed for some days were allegedly ordered by the management of the national oil firm and will continue till next week. The closures, attributed to logistical challenges, have led to long queues at remaining stations, with many motorists and commuters facing hours of delay. At multiple stations visited by newsmen on Wednesday, such as those in Lugbe, Airport Road, Zone 3, Life Camp, and Kubwa, motorists were turned away while attendants sat early. An attendant at an NAPC station in Gaki, who preferred to remain anonymous, stated, "We've been dry for 2 days now. There is simply no products to sell. We are awaiting directives from our suppliers." Another attendant in Kubwa, identified as Peter, said they have been selling previous petrol stocks and haven't received fresh products due to the challenge. We finished our old stocks yesterday. We only do not have products for today. We are expecting supplies and we definitely have them by tomorrow. But we have gas available for sale today, he said. A station manager at the NNPC Live Camp station, who confirmed the challenge and the directive by the NNPCL management, said the closure was due to some internal adjustments that affected all stations. The manager, who declined to give his name, stated the reason why there has been no fuel in most of our stations in Abuja here in recent weeks is due to some internal adjustments and programs being done at the management level. At an open cast mine, Abdullahi Ibrahim Danjija carefully chisels away at a hunk of whitish rock before stuffing a stack with the pieces which breaks off the walls. In the course of a day's work, he manages to fill 350-kilo bags, which will net him 150,000 naira, which is $100, or around double the monthly minimum wage in Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation. We have more than 1 in 2 live below the poverty line. 3 years ago, the 31-year-old miner came down from Kano in the north, lured by promises of being able to make his fortune by contributing to the development of the artisanal lithium mining industry in the central state of Nasarawa. There, as in other states, in other Nigerian states, the prospects of benefiting from a global explosion in demand for lithium, a critical metal in the manufacturing of electric, batteries and mobile phones, is just too attractive to miss. At Gidan Kwano, not far from Danjija, was beavering away. Another group of workers refused reporters access to their mine. Several families, including women and children, were busy laying explosives to carve in the base of their artisanal site. While proud of their achievement, not having acquired a mining permit, they are reluctant to advertise its existence. Much mining activity in Nigeria is of a similarly small scale, hence artisanal and often illegal. Even some of those who do not have a permit exploit the land without respecting any safety or environmental guidelines. Along Nasarawa's main road lie lines of empty houses used as warehouses, where miners and their intermediaries salt and clean rock deposits so as to prepare concentrated pieces of lithium for customers. One such vendor, Matthew Bandambala, crouched down as he bashed pieces of rock together. Buy, or if possible, we take it to where they are. But mostly they come to us to buy the material. It puts everyone to work. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu yesterday proposed an additional allocation of 4.53 trillion naira to the 2025 appropriation bill with a view to bolstering economic diversification, infrastructure development and national security. The addition raises the total budget size from 49.7 trillion naira to 54.2 trillion naira. In separate letters to both chambers of the National Assembly, Tinubu detailed the adjustment, which was read during plenary by Senate President Godswill Akpabio. The increase, the President explained, stems from additional revenues generated by the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, 1.4 trillion naira, the Nigeria Customs Service, NCS, 1.2 trillion naira, and other government-owned enterprises, 1.8 trillion naira. Akpabio referred the letter to the Senate Committee on Appropriations, directing them to expedite the necessary budgetary adjustments. He assured that the 2025 budget will be passed before the end of February to ensure smooth government operations. Key allocations show that the solid mineral sector received 1 trillion naira, targeted at unlocking Nigeria's vast mineral resources. The Bank of Agriculture recapitalization was allocated 1.5 trillion naira to enhance food security, empower smallholder farmers, and promote agro-industrial value chains. Similarly, the Bank of Industry BOI recapitalization was earmarked 500 billion naira to support small and medium enterprises, boost local manufacturing, and reduce reliance on imports. Infrastructure development was allocated 1.5 trillion naira, while irrigation development received 380 billion naira to support year-round farming and ensure water security. For transportation infrastructure, 700 billion naira was proposed, including 300 billion naira for road projects and 400 billion naira for urban rail networks. Border communities infrastructure was allocated 50 billion naira to improve security and foster economic development. On security, 250 billion naira was earmarked for military barracks accommodation to improve housing for security personnel, while 120 billion naira was proposed for military aviation to modernize Nigeria's air capabilities. President Tinubu emphasized that national security underpins economic progress, describing investments in the armed forces as both a moral and economic necessity. He asserted that enhanced military capabilities and infrastructure are vital for countering terrorism and ensuring the safety of citizens. Investments in solid minerals will expand Nigeria's revenue base and reduce reliance on oil. Recapitalization of the Bank of Agriculture and Bank of Industry (BOI) will enhance agricultural and industrial production, boost exports, and create jobs, the president stated. He added, improved irrigation systems will support year-round farming and food production. Road and rail projects will lower transportation costs and improve connectivity, while investments in border communities and military infrastructure will bolster national security and living conditions for security personnel. Tinubu urged the National Assembly to incorporate the proposals into the 2025 budget, highlighting their alignment with Nigeria's goals of economic growth, diversification, and enhanced security. Two cargoes of jet fuel averaging about 130 million liters have been exported from Nigeria to Saudi Arabia by the Dangote Petroleum Refinery. Coming on the backdrop of projection by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, that the 650,000 barrel per day refinery would disrupt the global crude and product market. President of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, described the latest export as an achievement of the goals set by the organization. Developments which may also indicate that Nigeria will be prioritizing the Middle East in its ambition to become a refining hub amid the shutdown of refineries in the global north. Last December, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPCL) disclosed that it sold the first cargo of Port Harcourt low-sulfur straight-run fuel oil to Dubai-based Gulf Transport and Trading Limited. The company reportedly loaded on board the Wonder Star MRI ship Dangote in a release after a visit by the Nigerian Economic Summit Group team to both Dangote Fertilizer Limited and the Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals in Ibeju, Lekki, Lagos, said the output from the refinery stand at 550,000 barrels per day. We are reaching the ambitious goals we set for ourselves, and I am pleased to announce that we have just sold 2 cargoes of jet fuel to Saudi Aramco, he said. He noted the importance of the private sector in national development, stressing that Nigeria's challenges could largely be overcome by providing gainful employment to its people. The richest man in Africa discouraged using the concept of a free market for continued import dependence, noting that both developed and developing nations, including the United States and China, actively protect their domestic industries to safeguard jobs and promote self-sufficiency. He also cited Benin Republic, where cement imports were restricted as part of a deliberate strategy to protect local industries despite the proximity of his Ibese plant. The president is a personal friend, and my Ibese plant is just 28 kilometers from Benin, yet they refuse to allow imports to protect their local industries, most of which are grinding plants, he said. According to Dangote, that the government stands to gain substantially when the private sector flourishes, noting that 52% of every naira Dangote cement generates goes to the government. To Dangote, the government stands to gain substantially when the private sector flourishes. Dangote also pointed out the significant challenges involved in setting up industries in Nigeria, particularly the substantial capital investments required due to the lack of infrastructure. While commending Dangote for establishing the refinery, NESG chairman Ni Yusuf stated that Nigeria needed large investments to reach its $1 trillion economic goal. To achieve a $1 trillion economy, much of that must come from domestic investment. I joked during the bus ride that while others are dredging to create islands for leisure, you've dredged 65 million cubic tons of sand to create a future for the country. This refinery, fertilizer plant, petrochemical complex, and supporting infrastructure are monumental, he said. He also emphasized that such local industries were essential to Nigeria's industrialization and would foster the growth of small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs. We go on a quick break, and when we return, We'll dive right into the rest of our stories. Do stay tuned. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. And now on to the rest of our stories. Nigeria's vast coastline and abundant marine resources remain largely untapped. In spite of their enormous potential in the blue economy, analysts argue that if properly harnessed, the sector could drive substantial economic growth and sustainability. They believe Nigeria stands to benefit greatly from the blue economy, unlocking new opportunities for prosperity. According to the World Bank, the blue economy ranks as the 7th largest in the world, valued at $1.5 trillion annually, with projections to double to $3 trillion by 2030. Recognizing this potential, President Bola Tinubu established the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy in August 2023. Led by Mr. Adegboyega Oyetola, the ministry is tasked with ensuring that Nigeria's marine resources are responsibly managed to improve citizens' livelihoods while preserving the country's coastal ecosystems. Oyetola, the first Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, has emphasized that fully harnessing the sector could lift many Nigerians out of poverty and create widespread prosperity. However, he stressed that achieving this requires innovation, collaboration, and adequate funding to develop a thriving industry that benefits present and future generations. To support this goal, he recently presented a capital budget proposal of 11.77 billion naira and an overhead budget of 453.86 million naira for the ministry's 2025 budget to a joint committee of the National Assembly. During the budget's defense, he noted the need for greater financial allocations as substantial capital investment is essential for the ministry to fulfill its mandate. The proposed total of 11.77 billion naira and an overhead of 453.86 million naira, though inadequate, is presented for your kind consideration, he told the committee. Oyetola outlined several pressing issues within the sector, including deteriorating infrastructure, silted river courses, inadequate fish production, and a shortage of river transport vessels, all requiring urgent intervention. To address these challenges, he proposed key initiatives such as replacing outdated wooden boats with standardized crafts, distributing life jackets to riverine communities, and conducting capital dredging in major rivers. He stressed that all projects are aligned with government's capital budgets to ensure timely execution and enhance food security. However, he warned that insufficient funding would hinder the ministry and its agencies from sustaining the progress made over the past year. Chairman of the Senate Committee on Marine Transport, Mr. Wasiu Esin Lokun, acknowledged that the proposed budget seemed inadequate for capital-intensive projects such as dredging. He assured that the proposal will be reviewed by the Appropriation Committee to ensure appropriate funding. Meanwhile, he advised the minister to incorporate long-term, high-cost projects into the 2026 budgets for better financial planning. Speaking at a stakeholders workshop in Lagos, Oyetola also called for the development of a national policy on marine and blue economy to establish a sustainable framework for growth. He noted that beyond funding, Nigeria requires a comprehensive national policy to maximize its extensive marine resources. He explained that such a policy would strengthen the sector, create jobs, promote sustainability, and drive economic growth through industries like fisheries, aquaculture, maritime transport, and tourism. American technology company International Business Machines, IBM, has exited the Nigerian economic space. The company announced that it is also leaving other African countries like Ghana while it transfers its operation to a third-party company. IBM is one of the latest international companies to exit the Nigerian economic space in recent times. In 2024, Guinness left, and Meta, the internet giant, and Microsoft reduced their physical presence in the country, scaling back their office spaces and transitioning to desk sharing for workers. Under this new agreement, IBM will transfer its regional functions to MIBB, a subsidiary of Midas Group, a multinational IT and telecommunications conglomerate operating across Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. The company said in a statement, MIBB will market and sell IBM products and services in 36 African countries, thereby giving MIBB's sales network direct access to IBM products, services, and supports further boosting innovation and growth in the region. The company's presence in Nigeria spans over 50 years, but this marks the twilight of the present period. In the 1960s, IBM helped to set up an educational system at the University of Ibadan, aiding in building digital capacity. The company was integral to the growth of the technology landscape, providing infrastructure and consulting services to industries such as education, banking, telecommunications, oil and gas, and government. Executive Director of the Nigeria Export Promotion Council, NEPC, Noye Ayeni, has credited the $5.456 billion contribution to economic diversification last year, a significant increase of 20.77% compared to $4.517 billion recorded in 2023 for the growth of the non-oil sector. Speaking recently on the non-oil export performance for 2024, Ayeni said the effort and commitment in achieving the goal were through effective collaboration with other relevant sectors, especially agriculture, solid minerals, and manufacturing. According to her, there was an increase in the volume of agricultural commodities as non-oil exports returns. About 7.29 million metric tons of products were exported in the period under review. The results for 2024 would have been much more, considering that the volume of informal cross-border trade, ICBT, represents a reasonable percentage of our exports, which goes unreported, she said. Ayeni said that a total of 246 distinct products were exported last year, spanning manufactured, semi-processed goods, industrial extract and agricultural commodities, while 32 banks participated in the process of Nigerian Export Proceed (NXP) forms for export. With a total number of 21,655 NXP forms processed, Zenith Bank led, contributing 39.03% to the total number of NXPs for non-oil exports, she said. She encouraged other banks to support exporters, adding that this would provide affordable finance to help increase exports. It would also stimulate value addition, thereby increasing FX earnings. Value addition to our export products is key as they attract proper pricing in the global market, she said. She said exporters can scale up production if they have access to affordable finance. Nigerian media mogul and creative industry pioneer Mo Abudu has officially announced the launch of Niger Creates to showcase and celebrate Nigeria's creative excellence, set to debut in London this summer with Lagos Canvas as the headline sponsor. According to her, Niger Creates is not just an event, but a movement, a platform that highlights Nigeria's finest talents across fashion, music, art, film and food, while placing monetization at the center of the conversation. With the creative industry projected to contribute significantly to Nigeria's GDP in the coming year, Abudu emphasizes the urgency of global expansion and structured commercial opportunities for Nigerian talents. Abudu recently met with the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, at the presidential villa to seek his endorsement and support for this visionary initiative. The Vice President assured her of his unwavering backing, underscoring the government's commitment to fostering Nigeria's creative and cultural indices. Vice President Senator Kashim Shettima has pledged his support for the Niger Creates project, saying all hands must be on deck for the nation's economy to be transformed. According to him, Niger Creates has the potential of being Nigeria's flagship cultural diplomacy initiative that will truly project the country through tourism, arts, music, fashion and others at the global stage. The Vice President assured that his office will support the project in all its ramifications. He commended Abudu for her efforts and contributions to the development of the entertainment industry in Nigeria, noting that there were a lot of positives about the country that should be exported to the international community. Describing the Niger Creates project as an avenue to promote the Tinubu administration's economic diversification agenda, Senator Shettima said the program should be Nigeria's collective efforts to showcase the country's potential in the creative sector. He also invited Abudu to join the federal government's IDI's team and deploy her expertise to help actualize the administration's goals in the technology and creative sector. Earlier in her remarks, Abudu said Niger Creates is an initiative that we help export and celebrate the excellence in Nigeria's creative sector, comprising films, art, food, music, and fashion, among others. She explained that through the project, a safe space will be provided to kickstart the process of exporting to the global stage the numerous creative talents that abound in Nigeria. Mobudu said Nigeria Creates is the next evolution of a journey I have been on for years, a journey to position Nigeria's creative industries as global economic powerhouses. We are rich in talent, innovation and culture, but we must go beyond celebration and into commercial success. Nigeria's creative economy is a sleeping giant, and when structured correctly, it has the potential to rival oil and gas in economic impact. With Lagos Canvas leading the way and Niger Creates taking the mission globally, we are making it clear that Nigeria's brands and talent belong on the world stage, and we are here to make it happen. U.S. President Donald Trump said Tuesday he was not in a hurry to speak with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping, despite expectations that they would hold talks after announcing tit-for-tat tariffs in a growing trade conflict. Beijing said it was imposing levies on imports of U.S. energy, vehicles and equipment in a return salvo minutes after Trump's threatened tariffs on Chinese goods came into effect Tuesday. A day prior, Trump suspended duties on Mexico and Canada for a month after both countries vowed to step up measures to counter flows of the drug fentanyl and the crossing of undocumented migrants into the United States. Trump has signaled earlier that the talks with Xi could take place earlier this week, but addressing reporters at the White House Tuesday afternoon, he said he was in no rush to talk to Xi. U.S. stock markets shrugged off weakness on Tuesday, but Chinese stocks saw volatility after markets opened Wednesday as the U.S. Postal Service said it was suspending inbound package shipments from China and Hong Kong until further notice. Letters and flats, it said, would not be impacted. Trump had imposed fresh 10% tariffs on Chinese goods on top of levies that were already in place against Washington's biggest economic competitor. Mexico and Canada had faced 25% tariffs. Trump's tariffs order also eliminated a duty-free exemption for low-value packages, a move that could delay packages of Chinese-founded online retailers Shein and Temu from entering the country. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said on Monday that Trump was due to talk to Xi, but on Tuesday she said she had no updates on when that call will take place. He is not going to allow China to continue to source and distribute deadly fentanyl into our country. That was the reason for this tariff. Leavitt told reporters outside the West Wing of the White House China unveiled 15% levies on imports of coal and liquefied natural gas from the United States, while crude oil, agricultural machinery, big engine vehicles, and pickup trucks faced 10% duties. Beijing says it will also probe U.S. tech giants Google and the U.S. fashion group that owns Tommy Hilfiger and Calvin Klein. China's government said the measures were in response to the unilateral tariff hike by Washington. It said it would also file a complaint to the World Trade Organization over the malicious levies. Additionally, it unveiled fresh export controls on rare metals and chemicals involved, including tungsten, tellurium, bismuth, and molybdenum used in a range of industrial appliances. China is a major market for U.S. energy exports, and according to Beijing customs data, imports of oil, coal, and LNG totaled more than $7 billion last year. But that is dwarfed by China's imports from more friendly powers, such as Russia, from which it purchased $94 billion worth last year. And now onto the stock market, foreign exchange market, and what the current exchange rate is today. Sterling was set for its biggest one-day fall since early January on Thursday, after the Bank of England BOE cut interest rates and was down from a 4-week high the day before. The Bank of England lowered the rates to 4.5% from 4.75%, but investors homed in on the fact two members of the rate-setting monetary policy committee called for a deeper 50 BPS cut, one of whom had previously voted to hold rates steady. The fact that two MPC members voted to deliver a bumper 50 BPS cut, despite revising up near-term inflation forecast, gives a sense of how concerned some policymakers are about the headwinds to growth, said Luke Bartholomew, Deputy Chief Economist at Asset Manager Aberdeen. Investors initially looked past the sharp increase into the BOE's inflation forecast and added to their bets on rate cuts this year, seeing roughly 65 BPS of further easing this year from around 60 BPS before the decision. Britain's 2-year bond yields, which are sensitive to BOE rates expectations, fell to their lowest since October after the decision, even as US and European yields rose. The latter moderated to trade 3 BPS lower at 4.107%. The UK's FTSE 100 stock index rallied and was last up at 1.65%, having traded around 1.15% higher earlier. The mid-cap index was last up 1.6%. The weaker than expected data coming out of the UK since the last BOE meeting has clearly encouraged them policymakers to be more aggressive, said Paul Jackson, global head of assets allocation at Invesco. He said he remained positive about UK equities and government bonds. European shares hit a record high. Gold was near one of its own all-time peaks, and bond markets were back under pressure on Thursday as focus flipped back to where global interest rates and tech stocks are heading after days of trade war angst. Britain's pound took a tumble as the Bank of England cut by another quarter point, but European shares were buoyant again as encouraging signs from drug maker AstraZeneca and miners helped the stock 600 climbed 0.7%. Wall Street wasn't looking quite so upbeat, with S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq futures broadly flat. The expectations for cloud computing after lackluster reports from Microsoft. The central bank also halved its forecast for growth this year to 0.75%, reflecting weak business and consumer sentiment. Although forecasts for annual growth in 2026 and 2027 were revised fractionally higher to 1.5% from 1.25%. Global shares rose on Thursday in a modest relief rally as fears of an escalating trade war between the U.S. and its major trading partners ebbed, while U.S. Treasury yields came under pressure as traders pondered the country's rate outlook. European stocks futures pointed to solid gains ahead of a slew of earnings releases and extending a rally from the previous session, in part due to a surge in healthcare stocks as sales of Novo Nordisk and blockbuster drugs Wegovy more than doubled in the fourth quarter. Euro stock 50 futures rose 0.5%, while FTSE futures